Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Gavin and I am the audiophile wannabe. This is my first video, so we'll consider this somewhat of a soft opening instead of a grand opening. On this channel we'll cover a number of two-channel audio listening and audiophile related topics, such as setting up your system and room to create an audiophile soundstage. We'll look at speaker modifications and upgrades. This is one of my favorite topics because getting the most enjoyment out of the hobby doesn't mean that you have to spend a bunch of money on new components, much less really expensive components. It could be that there are ways to improve what you have and maximize your enjoyment at a relatively low cost. In a few minutes we'll look at some of the ways we can do that, and just throwing this out there that some changes may work better for some than others, and the change benefits are likely going to be different with each different system in its own unique listening environment. I don't know if the hobby is so much about this is the best this or this is the best that. Since we all have our own unique tastes and preferences, it seems so far to be more about finding out for yourself what you really like and what gives you, the listener, the most enjoyment, and learning how to maximize that enjoyment. And on this channel I'll be sharing my experiences with you guys, and my sincere hope is that you can take away from my videos something positive that can help you along your listening journey. Another thing I'm really looking forward to is introducing you guys to the music of a number of local musicians here in Mississippi, which is where I live, and letting you get to know them and their music. Mississippi has such a rich history in music. Diving into this topic should really be very enjoyable. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what the channel's about, and today I thought we could start by taking a look at a project I've been working on since last November. It's been a bit slow going, but I'm really happy with where it is, with what I've learned, and especially with how things are sounding. So what we're going to look at is modifying a pair of first generation Klipsch Fortes, and let me also say that this project led to the creation of my current listening room. This is a photo of the first generation Fortes in the listening room, and I am going to attempt to scroll the picture up so that you guys can see what the room looks like also. So the ATS acoustic panels have worked out spectacularly and have helped the room tremendously. These speakers also happen to be the same set of speakers that Danny Ritchie from GR Research had done a video on early last November. I think the title of that video is Danny Tackles the Forte, Is It Just Another Klipsch? And I'll leave a link below in case you'd like to check out that video. My goal initially with this project was basically to try and maximize the performance of the Fortes, but after visiting with Danny and listening to his system, my initial goal changed. To be honest with you, I hadn't heard anything like his system before, and I really got curious to understand the significance that each individual modification can make. So instead of doing all the modifications at once, I decided to make one change at a time and then just listen for a good while before making the next change. Taking it slowly this way definitely helped to understand some of the differences these modifications can make, and the changes were quite noticeable. One thing that stood out from my experience at Danny's, and you hear him and Ron from New Record Day talk about this quite a bit, is the significance of creating a true soundstage and setting up your room to maximize the listening experience. Ron has a great video on this subject called Lights, and I'll post a link to it below. The video, or the Lights name, stands for Loudspeaker Optimization Techniques for Soundstage. So I want to put a quick picture up of Ron's video, the Lights video, just so you can see what the thumbnail looks like in case you would like to look for it. And again, I will post a link below. But this video is fantastic and really explains in good detail the benefits of a soundstage and how to set it up. I think you'll find it really enjoyable. So the reason I bring up the Lights video at this point is because what that meant to the project was that in order to understand the maximum potential benefit that each change could possibly bring, first, the room itself had to be conducive for hearing those maximum benefits that each change can provide. So to get the most enjoyment out of the Fortes and eventually understand the significance that Danny's crossovers can make, I had to improve the room first and then start making speaker modifications. So the room was basically completed the first week of this past January, and in other videos we'll look at that room project and my experience at GR Research, which was incredible. It was eye-opening to say the least. So after finishing the room, the first step and the first modification was to create a solid A to B comparison of the Klipsch factory spec crossovers to Danny's. Since these Fortes were made in the mid-80s and some of the crossover components had probably deteriorated to some extent, decided to install a pair of Klipsch crossovers to achieve that Klipsch design intended sound. So let's take a look at the Klipsch crossover. Take a look at that picture right here. You can see this is the, well, this one doesn't say it, but I think if you look on the website now, this particular model will say the silver. This is the mid-grade. There's a copper, a silver, which is this one, and then the gold version. The benefit the Klipsch crossovers brought were very noticeable. As you might expect, the tone, clarity, and overall sound improved immediately. And a month or so after installing the Klipsch crossovers, one of the original woofers developed an issue. So I replaced the stock Klipsch woofers with the Klipsch replacement woofers. This wound up being the second modification. Again, there were noticeable improvements. Not only did everything in the low frequencies tighten up, but the vocals in particular gained a depth and a presence that had likely diminished with the old woofers. The woofers were a definite upgrade. I've used Klipsch products before on a number of speaker projects, and their products are fantastic. And I'll do a separate video highlighting those guys. Quick coffee break. All right. So after I had listened to the Fortes for some time with the Klipsch crossovers and woofers, the time came to dampen the Fortes cabinets. I also dampened the horns and woofer baskets to help minimize unwanted vibrations and eliminate resonance. And if you've watched Danny's upgrade videos, with his upgrade packages, he normally includes some sheets of no-res dampening material to line the inside of the cabinets with. Before installing the no-res, however, first I installed a layer of aluminum seal tape that I got at Lowe's. It has a sticky layer of butyl adhesive, and I'll show you pictures in just a minute of the no-res and then the aluminum seal tape, and then also another brand called Noico Matte. But I used the butyl seal tape along the inside lining of the cabinets, and this tape adds quite a bit of weight, noticeable weight, and provides some vibration dampening to the cabinet itself. On the horns and woofer baskets is where I use the Noico butyl card dampening mat, which is actually designed specifically for car automotive dampening. So you can get this material on Amazon. So let's go ahead and take a look at these materials. Put you some pics up there of those. And here is a snip of the no-res from Danny's site, GR Research. So this material works really well. I've had great experience with it and would highly recommend it to eliminate resonance inside the cabinets. The next photo that we'll look at is the aluminum seal tape that I had mentioned. Again, pick it up at Lowe's or Home Depot, someplace like that. But the butyl layer works well for minimizing vibrations in the cabinet. Don't know exactly how it would compare to putting bracing in a cabinet. I know a lot of people use braces. I have not done that, but I think Danny's recommendation from the video on these speakers was to try the bracing. But because I've used this material quite a bit and have had good results with it, I decided to try the aluminum seal tape here. But on the horns themselves, as I had mentioned, I went with the Noico. You can get this off Amazon. The reason I went with this one instead of the seal tape is that this material is a good bit thicker than the aluminum seal tape, so that the dampening will be greater. If you decide to try this material or any of these, hopefully you'll have good experiences as I have. But this works really well. Because this material is textured, this is why I didn't use it to line the cabinets underneath the no-res. So the butyl still has that slick aluminum paper on the outside, so the no-res adheres very nicely to that. Not quite sure how the no-res would adhere to the Noico. Alright, so this is the inside of the first gen Fortes. Nothing in these, as you can see. Just kind of bare bones. The KG4s came with a standard, or came standard with a green foam to line the inside of those cabinets. It's about 1.5 inches thick, but I'm the third, I think, owner of these speakers, so I'm not sure if it had any foam or not. But as you can see, this is what they look like, and of course the passive radiator does not have the Noico mat placed on it yet. Show you another one here. This just gives you a good idea of what the Fortes look like before any of the dampening modifications took place. Okay, here the Fortes have had the aluminum seal tape added, so you can see what these look like. Also, you can see on the radiator that the Noico mat has already been applied. That gives you an idea of what the aluminum seal tape looks like. Here's another one. I'll try to scroll a little bit again, hopefully not mess this up too bad. As you can see here, one reason I wanted to show this picture is sometimes this tape can get really crinkly if you don't smooth it out just right. You know, you have to peel it back off and just try to smooth it out to the best you can, but it's very tacky, and so you want to lay it right the first time so you don't get the crinkly in the seal tape. One more picture, show you this one just so you can get a good look, but the aluminum seal tape worked out very well, very pleased with it. And again, you can see the Noico mat on the radiator, and the mat on the woofer baskets was placed on, or the Noico mat was placed on the woofer baskets the same way that you see here on the radiators. So that gives you a good idea of the dampening with the seal tape. Okay, at this point we are done with the dampening, so you can get an idea of what the speakers look like before and after dampening. So the no-res has been applied in here, and you can see on the towards the top above the radiator on the back side there's still just the aluminum seal tape. So the mid-range horn is almost to the very end of the cabinet, so there wasn't really room for the no-res on the back side of the cabinet, so it's just the seal tape. That gives you an idea there. We'll look at a couple of other pictures just so you can see from a different angle, and I will try to scroll again so you can see what that looks like. The top there, you can see where the no-res was very close to interfering with the tweeter horn, but or that's the way that it appears, but believe it or not, the tweeter horn sat back in place without any interference, so I was very pleased with that. And just one more picture from another angle again. You can see there what they look like before and after. Very pleased with the no-res. Okay, the the benefits from the overall dampening have been night and day. We'll talk a little bit about those differences now. So the distinction in vocals and instruments improved. The tone and clarity really sharpened up, and I wasn't expecting this, but the listening space in the soundstage definitely became more noticeable. You know, the bass, as I mentioned earlier, had improved with the Klipsch woofers, but they did improve yet again with an even tighter response with the no-res. And this time the bass even became less boomy. Sometimes these older style cabinets can have a definite boomy sound that can interfere with the overall sound quality, and the no-res and the dampening material worked really well to minimize that. Also, the decay in some of the vocals and instruments that you could hear across the soundstage became more noticeable. Some of these sounds could even be heard tapering off to the back or even to the sides of the stage, which was really cool. So since the beginning of this project, the overall improvement in sound is night and day comparison. It seems that with each improvement, there's been an added measure of clarity and refinement somewhere in the sound, as well as allowing the space within the soundstage itself to become more noticeable. And this increase of spatial awareness, if that's the right term for this, within the soundstage has also helped me to perceive a bit more of the depth. So my understanding of the 3D holographic imaging is getting there. The next stage in this journey with the Forte 1s is to install the GR Research tube connectors. So once those are installed, I'll listen to that setup for another month or so, and then after that we get to the real icing on the cake in this project, which is installing Danny's crossovers. So now that the listening room is where it is, along with some cable improvements that I've made along the way, we'll cover those in another video. And let me tell you, cables make a difference. I'm just telling you, cables make a difference. And based off of everything that I've experienced so far, getting to that point should be a reward that's definitely worth the wait. And not only that, but it will have allowed me the joy of experiencing and understanding that maximum potential benefit that each individual change could make. And I definitely look forward to sharing those results with you guys in the near future. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video and that you were able to find a nugget or two that can help you along your own listening journey. And if you've enjoyed today's video, please click that like and subscribe button, as that would definitely help the channel grow. Thanks again, and hope to see you soon. Take care.